Welcome to the Crimson Chat, your go-to show for the most inspiring stories straight from the heart of the University of Kansas. I'm Jaden Hill, and today we are having an exciting lineup featuring a KU professor leading cutting-edge research in information sciences and a dedicated PhD student whose passion for research has been shaped by strong mentorship. In today's episode, we'll sit down with Dr. Perry Alexander, a professor of electrical engineering and computer science and the director of KU's Institute for Information Sciences, one of the university's designated research centers. Then you'll hear from Will Thomas, a second-year PhD student whose journey from undergraduate research to working on attestation in Dr. Alexander's lab has been a transformative experience. And of course, we'll wrap things up with a fun KU-themed trivia showdown. Let's get started. Joining us today is Dr. Perry Alexander, a KU professor and director of the Institute for Information Sciences. Interestingly, he first came to KU as a student studying music and chemical engineering before ultimately pursuing a career in electrical engineering and computer sciences. Dr. Alexander, welcome to the Crimson Chat. To start, can you share what initially brought you to KU and how your journey shifted from music and chemical engineering to computer science?
I actually came here to study with my trumpet professor. That was a big reason why I chose KU, and it also had excellent engineering programs. And I didn't want to give up, even if I was going to study in music and be a musician, I didn't want to give up that side of my world. So nice synergy there. And if you're not used to campus, at KU, the engineering building and the music building are catty corner. So that was quite nice. So I studied music and computer science, electrical engineering for several years, and I don't know, I think this happens to a lot of students. Things just kind of shifted in my head. What I enjoyed changed. I found that I really enjoyed the creativity that I found in computer science, and I also discovered that although I loved music, I didn't really like to perform. I didn't like to be up on the stage, which is odd because I'm a professor now, but I didn't enjoy that aspect, and that's of course a very important part of music. But I also think it's a little dangerous to make your avocation your vocation, and that certainly was true for me. The thing that I did for fun and for enjoyment and enrichment didn't necessarily need to be the thing I did for my job.
And would you still go back and double major with music and, chemical engineering and all of that? Would you still think that interdisciplinary is important?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I still, my students will tell you, we still talk about music in virtually every class I teach. I think it's essential. I gave a talk at the music school's commencement a couple of years ago that was entitled, "What You Do is Essential." I think it's extremely important to be interdisciplinary, and particularly interdisciplinary into the arts.
Absolutely. Thank you. And as the director of the Institute for Information Sciences, what are some of the key areas of research your team is working on?
So if you look at the entire institute, we look at information from its creation by measuring the world all the way through curation and processing. So we kind of look at everything. We have, and that's one of our strengths, is that you can walk into I2S and virtually any aspect of information processing, there's an expert there that you can work with. So in the general world of I2S, we do anything related to information. In my specific world, we look predominantly at high assurance systems and secure systems. High assurance systems being things that can't fail. If Microsoft Word crashes, it's kind of a bad thing, but no one dies, and no one is harmed in that. Whereas if the anti-lock brakes in your car go out when you're going 70 miles an hour down the highway, that's a problem. When the control systems go out on a Mars rover, for example, you have a very, very expensive sculpture on Mars that no one will see because the system is dead. So that's what high assurance means. Secure, I think people are more familiar with. Secure is we're just trying to keep the bad guys out.
And can you explain what exactly is information processing?
That's a really hard question, and it depends on who you ask. I mean, for low-level systems engineers, it's working down with the bits and the bytes and looking at sensing the world. My world is more involved in looking at what we call the semantics or the meaning of the bits. I care very much about logic, and I care very much about semantics. So it can be lots of things, but I think a general definition is we do things to transform information.
Thank you. And can you kind of talked about in the previous question how you are working on securing things. Does that include things in the digital world, and what does that look like?
Sure, absolutely. So it's predominantly in the digital world, and what we're really trying to do with the work that we do specifically is we're trying to understand who's at the door, so to speak. We're looking across the system or across the network and looking at systems and trying to determine whether they trust them, whether we trust them. And the objective of that is I want to make sure, just like when you interact with your friends, if they're behaving oddly, you'll take different actions than you would if they're behaving normally. Same thing for a computer system. If we look across the network and the computer we want to interact with is behaving oddly, we'll do something different than we would if it was behaving normally.
Thank you. And you also said that we work on a lot of different projects, and there's things that like you have to work and things that maybe not so much, like Microsoft Word. Can you give some examples of specific projects that maybe you've worked on?
Sure. So right now we work with DARPA and the National Security Agency looking at building what we call attestation infrastructure. And attestation, it's exactly what it sounds like. We're trying to build systems that communicate with other systems and ask them for information, and then have those systems report back in a way that both the provenance of the information and the goodness of the information, I guess would be a good way to say it, are present. So we work with both of those organizations to try and provide systems that others can use to use that trust determination. We also do some other interesting things. We work with the Spencer Art Museum on some digital art pieces that interestingly involve some of the same technology. So we try to be diverse, but those are kind of some of the things that we've done.
Yeah, and what's your favorite project you've worked on?
Oh wow, the last one I've worked on always. I mean, the next thing is always exciting and fun. I think personally, we did a celebration of Alan Turing's life I think it was that 2011? I think on his 100th birthday, and that was personally very fulfilling. Professionally, this entire attestation work that we've been doing, we're seeing people adopt our work, and to me that's a huge deal. That's a big deal. It kind of takes you to a new level when other people are interested in using your stuff. So, but I'm pretty happy whatever I'm doing research wise. So it's my favorite thing is the last thing I did.
Wow, well, I mean, I can't really blame you there. I'm sure there's been a numerous amount of projects that you've worked on. And also, outside of academia, do you are you still involved with music? Do you still play the trumpet, maybe other instruments?
I don't play anymore, although I went to a show on Monday that got me thinking about playing again. But mainly I listen now, so I have a dedicated music room and a really nice stereo. I also will participate in PhD committees for the School of Music at times. So yeah, I'm still in the midst of music. I just don't do it for anything that would be close to professional.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I really love talking about how important it is to be interdisciplinary, especially with the arts, and I'm sure that's added so much to the research you've done, the work you've done. I mean, everything that we learn about affects everything that we do in the future. So I think that's a great word of advice for students who are looking to go into research, that it's still important to focus on those arts. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Alexander, for sharing your fascinating journey and insights with us. After the break, we will meet a KU PhD student who has worked closely with Dr. Alexander in making strides in research himself. Stay tuned.
National champions deserve a clean campus. Don't wait for other
Our next guest is Will Thomas, a second-year PhD student at KU. A lifelong Kansas resident, Will started research during his undergraduate years and joined Dr. Alexander's lab in his junior year. His strong connections with professors have played a crucial role in his academic and research success. Well, welcome to the show, Will. We're excited to have you. Can we talk about what sparked your interest in research? What was it like getting involved at KU, and how has Dr. Alexander been instrumental in this journey for you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So I came into college initially thinking I wanted to sort of rush through a computer science degree, get it done, go straight to industry and have some job and, get a career from there. And I was sort of happy with that idea freshman, sophomore year, and then junior year I took Dr. Alexander's class, and it just really got me thinking, wow, this is a very interesting area. I really enjoy this. The area of programming languages, formal methods, sort of figuring out how we can trust software was quite interesting to me. And I started showing up to Professor Alexander's office hours basically every time he held them, and would just ask him questions until I think basically I got a job with him working in research. So yeah, then since then I've loved it. I like sort of focusing on big, hard problems that I think have sort of wide-reaching impact.
Well, that's amazing, and I feel like every time I talk to somebody, they talk about how their journey has changed from when they started as a freshman and undergraduate to where they are now. And obviously now you're a PhD student, and you're working on attestation, which is a key part of your research. And Dr. Alexander mentioned it in our previous interview, but can you explain really what your role is in researching with this, what exactly it is, how you came to love it, all of that?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of questions surrounding attestation. It's an area that we really want to have good tooling around so that people can secure their systems. And I think in particular, what I work on is building up infrastructure so it's easier for, other external users who aren't PhD students who have been working on it for years to actually get attestation systems for themselves and secure their systems. So just tools to make it so that they can, specify very abstractly what they want, and then from there get an actual attestation system that protects their computer.
It's a very noble cause, and I know I'm one of those people who definitely would not understand anything without your work of translating it into being accessible. And how has working closely with a faculty mentor shaped your experience and growth at KU and as a researcher?
Yeah, I think in particular working closely with Professor Alexander is great. My office is a stone's throw from his, and we sort of pop in and out of each other's offices all the time just to bounce ideas off each other, share exciting news, that sort of stuff. And beyond that, I think just being an undergrad at KU and then moving into grad school, I made so many connections with great professors here who I feel comfortable with sort of reaching out to, even if I'm not in one of their classes at the moment, to say, hey, I know you're an expert in this area. Can you help me understand it more and help me understand how this might apply to my research? So I really enjoy working with the faculty here and getting to know them well.
Yeah, I think those connections are absolutely vital, especially when you're transferring into research from when you really weren't working on that until your junior year. And you've been a Kansas native your entire life, a Kansas resident. Did you ever want to leave Kansas? Do you want to stay in Kansas? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I really love Kansas. I love the seasons, even though it's a very cold and wintry day today, kind of hard to get here. But I'm rooting for KU through and through, right? I have been the whole time, and there weren't very many questions in my mind if KU was where I wanted to go out of high school. After I complete my PhD, it would be interesting to explore other areas, but I think long term, I like Kansas. I like the Midwest. I'd probably come back here.
Well, that's great to hear. I know KU is extremely lucky to have you. And speaking of your career aspirations, what does that look like for the future after you finish your PhD?
Yeah, I wish I knew exactly what to tell you. It's not set in stone or anything. I'm focused right now on just doing the best research I can, right? Make sure the ideas that we are creating in this lab are put out there so that, lots of people in the future would actually know what attestation is when I talk to them about it and maybe try and get a job. But I think maybe teaching, a professorship someday would be something I would like, just so I can, spread the word even further and have students to help work with me.
Yeah, like I said, you definitely have a lot of different options when it comes to your future, having a PhD, and I think that going into a professorship would be amazing, and kind of, you've seen the amazing work that Dr. Alexander has done, so you've had an amazing mentor to kind of show you what that looks like.
Yeah.
Lastly, any fun KU traditions or experiences that have stood out to you or that you've really enjoyed while being here?
The basketball games, I was so lucky to be here during the time when we won the national championship. I remember me and all my roommates were really excited, went down on Mass Street, almost got trampled by that enormous crowd. So, yeah, passion for our sports teams, the football team. I hope they sort of have some great seasons as we're sort of ramping up there. That's sort of, I think, where the fun KU traditions for me, at least, are.
And any advice for students wanting to get into research?
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier than you'd think it would be. I think you just show your passion for working on a project. You find a professor who is sort of working in that area, and if you're passionate, you show up, you talk with them, you ask questions like I did to Professor Alexander. They're going to recognize that, and they're going to want to work with you, because I think professors are basically constantly looking for more passionate students to join their lab.
Well, thank you, Will, for sharing your journey and passion for research. Now let's switch gears and see how well our guests know KU in our trivia showdown. Who will come out on top? Stay tuned.
Yeah, I always just clap at this part.
This is where everyone's talking amongst themselves. Do you know how to do it? Do you know how to do it?
Are we supposed to smile?
When do we start? Somebody over here already started.
Can we talk about how the piccolo part's the most complicated one?
It is. If you listen, you're doing it when the band's not playing.
You have to tell me when it starts. I still don't know.
Here we go. Just clapping now. No humps. Nailed it.
I practiced this morning.
Mine was just two people.
It has a right and a wrong way of doing it. No. Wrong.
I like my way better.
I don't know how to do the end.
It's just
I don't know the head.
It's hard by yourself.
Where you go to college makes a statement about you. This place will become a part of you, your identity for life. The University of Kansas, a great place to be you.
Welcome back to our trivia contest here on the Crimson Chat. My name is Kira Higman and I'm your host. Today we are playing computer science trivia to put our experts to the test. Dr. Alexander and Will, thank you for joining us today. Let's go over the rules. I will read through each trivia question. Both contestants must wait until the entire question and options are read through before answering. Once you want to answer, the first contestant to hit the table with their palm gets to answer first. If the answer is incorrect, the other contestant has the chance to steal the question. So let's get started. Our very first question is, in computing, what does HTTP stand for? These are your options. A, Hypertext Transfer Portal. B, High Tech Transmission Protocol. C, Hypertransfer Transmission Procedure. Or D, Hosted Transfer Template Programming. What are we thinking?
I'm going to go with A.
A, Hypertext Transfer Portal. All right, let's see what the answer is. You are correct. Congratulations.
Wow.
For a quick check-in, how are we feeling? Scale of 1 to 10. Who do you think is going to win today? Dr. Alexander, Will?
I'm feeling good about it now since
Yes.
I got the first
Yeah.
one.
All right, well, maybe Dr. Alexander, you can make your comeback. We have 4 more questions. The next question is, in what year did the first Amazon Web Service launch to the public? A, 2012, B, 2000, C, 1999, or D, 2006?
And okay, I'll buzz in here, but I've got really no idea. A, 2012?
A, 2012? I don't think that's the right answer. Dr. Alexander, do you have an answer to steal this point away from Will?
I don't know either, but 1999 it seems.
1999. All right, let's see what the answer is. 2006. Oh no. Our experts, I don't know, you guys are lacking. All right, for our next question, let's go ahead and see if you all know this one a little better. 1,024 gigabytes is equal to 1 what? A, 1 gigabit, 2 megabytes, C, 1 terabyte, or D, 3 petabytes? Dr. Alexander, I saw that.
C, a terabyte.
C, 1 terabyte. All right, and let's see. 1 terabyte is correct. Congratulations. I don't know what any of those things are. Our next question is, what Harvard dropout co-founded Microsoft? A, Bill Gates, B, Steve Jobs, C, Paul Allen, or D, Mark Zuckerberg? That might have been a tie, but I'm going to go with Dr. Alexander. I think you got there first.
Bill Gates.
Bill
A.
Gates. All right. And Will, what's your answer on that question?
It's Bill Gates.
You think it's Bill Gates as well? Okay, well, let's see. It is Bill Gates, and that point goes to Dr. Alexander. So far we have 1v1, so we're tied. All right, our next question. What was the first home gaming console called? This one may be a little tricky. A, the Nintendo Entertainment System. B, the Magnavox Odyssey. C, the Atari 2600. Or D, the Sega Genesis.
These all predate me, so I'm not quite sure, but I'll buzz in. I'm going to guess C.
C, the Atari 2600. And Dr. Alexander, do you have an answer for this question?
It's not. I'm going to go with B.
B. And B is the Magnavox Odyssey. And our correct answer is the Magnavox Odyssey. So Dr. Alexander, you are currently winning 3 points versus 1. All right. Moving on to our next question. Actually, that was our last one. So our winner is Dr. Alexander. Thank you so much for playing. That wraps up our computer science trivia here on the Crimson Chat. Dr. Alexander and Will, thank you for playing along and being our star guests on the show today. And to learn more about the students and professors featured here on the Crimson Chat, find more information on our Instagram at CrimsonChatKU, and we'll see you next week.